Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the living world of darkness, rage across New York, where there is scandal, such scandal. And within the Seeker's Cabin, there's been much of the normal daily activity. 10 and Aiden have both roused late and gone about their various duties, one on patrol, one tending various shrines, but both have reconvened in Aiden's room, as they are wont to do. And while there are no actual shenanigans taking place, the pair are probably curled tightly up back in his bed under nice warm blankets and just kind of feeding comfort back and forth. 10 has long since sunk into what is fondly now known as teddy bear mode, wherein being grabbed up by a pack mate and held in a way that she feels safe and comfortable, she has a tendency to sort of just in a circular fashion project just thoughtless care and comfort in a soothing fashion into the pack link, usually directly at whoever is holding her at the time. And so that's pretty much what's going on. 10 is curled up against Aiden and just kind of oozing comfort.
Yeah, Aiden he'd be kind of lying there, occasionally sitting up, just rubbing his face. Still quite exhausted looking. You know, his hair is very shaggy now. It's kind of he hasn't been taking care of himself as he normally does, as 10 knows, being the extra motherfucker that he is. Has not been taking care of himself in the slightest. He's quite shaggy, quite hairy actually. It seems more worn out than anything, and quite, you get this sense of almost defeat in him as well. He knows what's coming, and he just feels more, yeah.
Yep, and as such, she has probably taken less to nesting into his side, and instead has kind of reversed the roles there, and has actually been holding on to him, petting his hair, singing to him in Gaelic, humming, and generally trying to be calming. Though as the listlessness persists late into the day, she will let her mind wander away from there's still just a sense of comfort being projected, but it's not the waves of it as her mind kind of wanders. And it is, of course, wide open.
Eventually, he'll kind of sit up and again adopt a familiar pose by the window as he'll light a cigarette and just stare out at us. The smoke passes through the open window, so he'll just kind of stare out.
And she will actually kind of mimic the motion, probably patting around before she finds her swag over at the foot of the bed and pulls out one for herself. Because you know what? Dallas isn't here to slap it out of her hand. And so she'll light it and take a drag.
Do you know they're gonna boot me out because and he'll look over at her as, the cigarette smoke kind of wafts over his face a bit as he blows out. They're probably gonna boot me out because I'm at the edge of things.
And again, the comfort kind of ratchets down a bit to just her ambient state as she is distracted from just kind of being carelessly comfortable. And as he's looking back, her gaze sharpens a bit. Definitely becomes more of the here and now. And even a little more sharper than that. So she'll exchange a glance and then pull another drag off of her own cigarette. Exhaling a cloud. I had heard something to that effect, Raya.
God forbid, eh?
Oh, I will have some choice words for some choice people.
By the looks of things, they're probably going to keep it quiet, and that's probably what Skovgard wanted. It's probably his best he can do. I have a feeling that you know who probably wanted me dragged in front of the streets like Garrett was.
And that the golden brown gaze gets just a little sharper still. That would have been a mistake, Raya.
Yeah, well, after all, you heard him.
He can feel the tension ratcheting up a little bit. She's not taking a rage yet, but she's definitely agitated.
All I've done for this place.
Oh, it won't be forgotten, Raya. And if the wrong gestures are made, I will ensure that there are consequences.
I suppose it doesn't matter now, really, does it?
Oh, it matters.
Look, it's a way out, and I can see her. I know that. It's just... You should see his fist tense a bit.
And she'll set her free hand on it, the other one still holding the cigarette. So long as it is done quietly, Raya.
It'll probably beat me down. Standard humiliation, that thing. I can take it. It's just... Speaks volumes, do you know? It speaks volumes.
We'll see, Raya.
I know the way this works, 10 Point. I'm just saying it speaks volumes. It's not like I willingly went into Toronto, is it?
You're not there yet, Raya.
I'm at the edge, though.
I won't let you fall.
Yeah, well, everyone's pretty much damned me already, by the looks of things.
I don't care about everyone, Raya. Nor should you.
Yeah, well... When you put yourself out there, 10 Point, and all that passion, all that fury you give for the place, and the first time you fall, and you try to reach out a hand, and instead of... They talk about brotherhood here, and this is what brotherhood is.
Just make note, Raya, that the ones that do reach out their hands.
I'll try. Just... It's like it's consuming you at 10 Point.
He blinks.
Do you know? It masses and masses, and it just feels like you're floating, but you're not really there. You're looking
She
down,
finally picks herself
yeah.
up.
You kind of like reach over and just like stroke her hair softly as well.
She pauses like midway up and re-nests herself, probably propped up onto her elbows since he's taking to stroking her hair. You're still here, Raya.
It doesn't feel like it some days. It feels like I'm at the edge of a cliff, and I can just stick my feet out, look down. I can hear her calling to me, do you know? saying it's all right. It's okay. What could you do anyway? You know?
And with that, she will go ahead, sit herself the rest of the way up, just kind of perched on the edge of the bed next to him. Close enough to be like brushing side to side. Though at this point, her mind is rolling through a number of things, and while there's still that natural level of care and a distinct lack of any sort of shielding, walls, curtaining, none of that. So it's all just kind of plainly sitting there on top. She just kind of rolls through a number of thoughts. And finally shoots a soft glance aside. Let me anchor you, Raya.
How can you anchor me, 10 Point?
Sorry?
How can you anchor me? You say, kind of almost staring out the window again.
And she'll it's debatably a kind of obnoxious motion, but it's something meant to just kind of pull his gaze back from the window. And she will as she's puffing out the next lungful of smoke, will kind of slowly lean forward, turning to look at his face until that kind of instinctive little desire to meet a face that's looking at you kind of kicks him from looking to the window to looking at her.
Yeah, she look into his eyes, and it's just these dark rings. His green eyes look tired. He just looks. The whole process, you can tell, is completely just zapped any of that fire that's normally in him.
Right, you said before when you were angry that you would mark me. But now that you are calm, would you?
You want to be marked?
Why wouldn't I?
Why?
I consider to finally sit properly upright again. And again, he'll feel like various traces of emotion, various thoughts cross her mind. A number of reasons, Raya. But whether or not it is blatant, I will know it's there, and you will know it's there.
I want to know your reasons, Senpai, not my own.
And she, this time with the cigarette just kind of held off on her fingers, pulls in a fairly deep breath and looses an equally kind of deep sigh. And decides to look, instead of glancing his way, kind of glances the opposite direction in that, oh, what a nice curtain that is kind of way. would mean I was worth marking, Raya.
When she looks away, he immediately will stop and his finger will rest on her chin, almost turn her head slowly so she locks eyes directly with him.
Yep. Presumably, she said the thing as her head was being turned, and promptly goes quiet again when she's stuck locked eye to eye.
Now say it.
And while the struggle is entirely internal, he can still catch the edges of it. And she very clearly has to kind of brace herself to do so. As she repeats, it would mean I was worth marking, Raya.
What else?
Again, there's an awkward silence as she scrambles for an answer. Raya, I just would very much like to have it.
There's something you're not telling me, Point. And if you want this mark, he'll run his thumb right along her cheek. If you want this mark, Moira, you'll tell me.
And he can feel her face heat a bit. It's not enough to really affect much of a color change, but it's definitely there. I am not used to being kept and wanted in the way that you have kept and wanted me. And a mark would be proof of it and a reminder of it.
All right.
The flood of relief is very real.
Grab what you want me to use.
And she'll wait until the hand falls away from her face, as though she's kind of stuck until it does. And then in a comically kind of half dazed fashion, we'll go ahead and rouse up, taking another idle drag as she kind of ambles lightly out of the room, at least briefly. Now, irony of ironies, we're all aware that Balian has a set of, quote, good silver. That is, in fact, good silver. Because he's at least a little bit of an asshole. He probably just likes throwing the spoons at 10 point, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But sooner or later, probably relatively sooner, once she convinces one of the kin to give her access to it, um, she'll come back around, returning into the room, returning to exactly the spot she left, albeit this time holding in one hand one of the knives, one of the proper knives from the set, um, wrapped up probably in a handkerchief or something, an old one. Just something to keep it from directly touching her skin.
He'll walk over very calmly, close the door, and lock it behind him, and then sit right in front of her.
And he'll see that even with the thing wrapped up, like, much of the hair on like her arms and whatnot is just set straight upright by directly holding something of worthwhile silver content.
He'll gently take the cloth and not touch the thing directly itself and kind of lay it gently down on the bed. And he'll look at her. Don't look away from me when I'm doing this.
Yes, right.
He'll reach over and, like, again, run his hand through her hair very softly, like almost gripping the back of her head, very gently. I mean it. Look me right in the eye. No matter how bad the pain is.
There's an almost imperceptible, very small nod, as though she's worried about jostling the hand that's come around the back of her head.
And he'll reach over very carefully, delicately, move the cloth that like separates it so the knife is open, and will just very slowly take it in his hand. And I can hold. Hamas can hold.
Oh yeah, he can hold as long as he's in Hamid, he's fine. She just can't touch it in any form.
Oh, that's fine.
Even
That's
just
fine.
holding it for a turn does her ag.
And he will gently, almost slowly lay her down on the bed, still maintaining eye contact, and will lift up the shirt right at the edge of her belly, just on the side of the ribs. And he'll look at her. Probably doing this exact motion in the GIF, actually. And he'll look over it. You know, he's just picking up the knife, and he'll look at her, dead in the face. Are you ready?
And there will be another very minute nod. She'll actually very possibly kind of do that thing where you knot your fingers in the sheet to resolve the temptation to move your hands around, kind of lock them in.
And like you see some wolves do, you know, the way they kind of nestle in against each other, like their cheeks and stuff like that. You see some dogs do it as well.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of nuzzle against her cheek almost as if, you know, this kind of very slow, affectionate type of thing. You know, the side of his face or his hair kind of just touches against her. And then, yeah, he makes 3 cuts.
Oh boy. So now comes the
fun part,
yes. Wherein it's diff 8. Woohoo! Because new moon. But for each cut, she has to take a point of rage and roll it.
Well, thankfully, you start off with 3, so that's not too bad.
Yes.
Cut number 1.
Yep. Oh boy. So roll 1.
Yeah, pretty good. Roll 2.
Yep.
Mm-mm.
0 successes.
Roll 3.
So the rage flares, and then it fades.
And actually, Actually, during this whole process, she will actually feel his hand interlock with hers.
So soothing.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank God. So with the first cut, her rage flares, only slightly. She is not a creature of great rage. And with the second, it fades back, perhaps because she's very pointedly fighting against it. And with the last long whirling cut, we'll again kind of lose her grasp on it, but only in the slightest bit. It's nothing on the displays of rage that her pack mates are capable of putting on. It's very, very repressed. Though, assuredly, especially on the first and third cut, the hand clasping hers will be grasped tightly, and by the third, we'll probably have nails digging into the back of his hand.
He doesn't say anything. He doesn't like hiss or anything. He just stares down at her.
And let me do a willpower roll because that's just fair.
Yes.
Oh, holy shit!
Hot diggity damn.
That is one die, viewers, and it is a 10. Yes! She stays terrifyingly composed as she is carved into, albeit only in a passing fashion, just enough to mark the skin, but still is cut into with silver, which is the bane of her existence.
She doesn't break eye contact with him, I'm assuming.
Nope. With a 10, no. She keeps her eyes locked, and she may grit her teeth, and she may hiss in pain a bit, but no, she stays very markedly composed.
And after the incisions that form a perfect tri-spiral are made, he will gently fold the knife back on the cloth with the tip of his hand, like making this kind of two fingers together, dip it in her blood and kind of just make, again, little circles on her cheeks and across, kind of like forming a perfect knot of her own blood across her face. You just stare down at her. What does this mark mean to you?
Everything, Raya. While the rage is well under control, the grasp on his hand is still very tight.
And then he will very gently, very slowly take her hand out of his. I'm assuming she's dug right in.
Nah, she's not biting the nails
blood
anymore, too bad, but yeah, it's happened.
Oh yeah. With his own blood, he will again do the same thing and then dip, doing the same thing on her face, dip and mix his own blood with hers and do the exact same spiral motion across her face. What does this mark mean to you, 10 Point?
And let's just see how well she's keeping her composure. Still pretty good.
Shit.
For one die, she's doing grand. I'm wasting all the good ones. No, she again, he'll feel certain shifts of emotion, especially as it's done, an incredible relief that's not like the relief from pain, but as though it is just a burden off of her shoulders almost to have the mark carved into her. And as she's questioned again, she kind of floods an answer out mentally as she repeats her previous verbally. But I mean, he's at this point fairly accustomed to getting bombarded with love and affection. Not romantic love by any means, but definitely a marked attachment. And so, yeah, as he repeats the gesture, putting his own blood on her face, she says again, you could swear, you could swear. I mean, it's an 8, but still, you could swear she's just a little watery eyed. As she answers, everything, Raya.
And very gently, you kind of help her into a sitting position, very, very, very slowly, taking very deliberate care not to aggravate it too much. And he'll put his forehead against hers and stare at her. Everything.
Yes, Raya. Thank you.
And again, very softly, he'll run his fingers along her cheek and along through her hair. You shouldn't be thanking me. It's me who should be thanking you.
And by this point, being doused in affection, she's probably getting to the point where, especially by the time my hand is running on her cheek and in her hair again, it's her eyes are like kind of half lidded. She's pretty blissed out. And in pain, but blissed out.
From his kind of jacket, he'll reach down over towards his bag. He'll take one of the guy's breaths, spend a gnosis, and pop. It's all better.
And of a sudden, the bleeding ceases entirely, the skin seals, but there will still be a very marked silver scar of a tri-spiral on her abdomen. There's nothing to thank, Raya.
He'll smirk slightly. There's plenty to thank at some point. If every menace was like you, then maybe the nation wouldn't be off to a bad start.
And just all in all, she falls fairly quiet. It's pretty sincere, pretty, I should say, heavy praise. Especially coming from a Fianna. Especially coming from one from Silver Tara. She just kind of basks in it.
And he'll lift up her chin and, cup her hands in his face and stare at her. You're our Omega. You're my Omega. You're my packmate, Pinpoint. Whatever way I have to treat you is because I want to save who you are. Because I have to. It's not the easy road. But I'd walk it if it meant saving you from the spiral.
Thank you, Raya.
I never let any harm come to you.
I hope that you don't regret it, Raya.
Why would I regret a fine Omega and a fine Guru? Pinpoint. One that's proven that Metis can have valor as much as the next one. because she understands the right purpose in life, the way of life. Why would I ever regret seeing that blossom?
Because the very least I can do for my pack is die for them. I hope that I am worth more than that.
You lift her chin, so she's like practically they're like nose to nose. You don't just die for your pack, 10 point. You live for them. And you've done that. So how could any of us hate you for that?
And yeah, there's a flurry of emotion. Again, relief being one of the strongest among them. And willpower aside, she's probably starting to leak a tear or two in just blissful, blissful relief. Thank you, Raya.
I'm sorry I won't be in the next while. I won't be myself. I just wanted to let you know how I felt, just in case. Just in case.
Whether or not you are yourself, I will be here. And even if you try to plummet over the brink, Raya, I'll be there to take a hold, to pull you back. Just make sure that when you're lost in feeling, you don't close yourself off. As long as I can reach you, I'll pull you out.
And very gently, you'll just reach over and plant a soft kiss on the top of her forehead and just lay back down on the bed.
And she will probably follow suit, honestly, albeit after a moment of stunned silence. And just curls up into his side again. You're careful of the antlers, mind you.
And yeah, I think that's probably the best place to end that.
It probably is. So thank you, players, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. And we will see you next time on the Living World of Darkness. Rage across New York. Scandal across New York.